Friends, long life. Hello everyone. We live happily ever after. Today I read wonderful comments under my videos where people write, I thought the same way, everything turned out the same, but there was no whole picture. And I watched your video and everything suddenly fell into place, and many thanks to you for that. After such comments, I want to continue to give something, create, share my thoughts. And today, I want to share with you my understanding what exactly is happening. If at least it helps one person, God willing, I will be very happy. I give you a piece of my love, soul, energy, and let's figure it out together what exactly is happening now. The whole world has stopped now. The economy, political life has stopped. We hardly hear anyone. We don't see, but we hear and see only one thing, a sea of negativity that pours on us. I watched the video of my friend Sasha Kozlov. He prompted me an interesting thought. When people first appeared, I'll start from afar, do not blame me, but this will give a complete picture, probably understanding why and what is happening, and what, most importantly, we should do. When people first appeared on Earth in form of certain community, they were given a certain principle. This principle was called go and earn with each other. What does it mean? This means that in the beginning, in order to survive, people needed to unite and, for example, someone harvested, someone killed someone on the hunt. It didn't matter. Everyone understood that each of the people contributed a certain part of the common cause, and no matter who killed the mammoth, everyone was distributed approximately equally. Then, as society and social relations developed, people were divided into professions, businesses appeared, rulers, and so on. And all this defragmented society. The situation very much depended on who is smarter, who is better, who is bigger, and all this took distorted forms. Why? Because in essence, in our soul, the expression higher, better, faster sounded differently. Do not drown the other and get out at his expense, earn more and so on. No, we all have to realize that divine spark that burns in the soul of each of us, and through this, through the achievement of something, come to our monad, to those people who surround you in life and say, I did it. I realized not through the fact that I humiliated someone, drowned someone, deceived someone, took it from someone. No. Through the unfolding of my divine potential, I have come to bestowal and to unity. This is now very much distorted, in my opinion, and this is a very deep thought that Sasha threw at me. It was spinning somewhere, but I could not arrange it. And any tension in any system must be released, because any system strives for equilibrium. The tension in our Mother Earth, which is now in a new dimension, on new vibrations, was released as we approached this, in the form of all kinds of eruptions that we observed, natural disasters, earthquakes and so on, which grew and grew. The tension in society manifested itself in the form of many global conflicts, small, strong, large, in the form of catastrophes, in the form of some kinds of terrorist attacks. This also grew and grew. So what is happening now? Now the most important tension has arisen. Stress in the mental system of a society of people, because there is tension in the psyche of each individual person, and there is tension in the mental system of society as a whole. So this tension, due to gradual fragmentation, due to stratification, has reached global dimensions, and it should be released. There was such an enlightened man, Nikolai Rerich, who said very wise words. He said that the last war among people will be a war for truth, and that this war will go on in each individual person. War with one's own ignorance, one's own aggressions, one's own fears. And at that moment, when all this will be defeated, in each specific person. Only then, through the radical changes of each specific person, victory will be achieved and a new life will begin. So what is going on? Coronavirus is the release of this mental tension of society. It put itself in a complete halt. Nobody cared about economy, about some interests and so on. All are confused. What do we see? Do you think some presidents, I don't know, rulers, kings, queens, know something that is happening now? Despite the fact that they have unlimited possibilities in the form of special services, analytics, institutions and so on, we see one thing that's visible from the outside. They are confused. They solve two problems, only two. The first task is to hold power by any means. Through what? Through isolation of people in order to prevent riots and so on. The second task is preferably to make money on these businesses and to write off all their failures in the economy, illiterate management and so on. In a well-known Russian film, when three thieves were invited and one of them asked what should be stolen, they were told, "Break everything here in the warehouse, it's not necessary to steal anything, everything is stolen before you." So the same scenario approximately is being realized now all over the world. Thus, everyone who is upstairs, everyone who has climbed in there doesn't want to get down from there and want to steal as much as possible through this isolation. Because isolation, in fact, is a stupid action. Everyone inside understands, yes, precautionary measures are needed. Yes, there is a challenge, you need to go through it. But it doesn't require that no one go out. It doesn't require that no one say anything. The first to realize this were the Chinese. At the level of genetics, they have all been spelled out for a long time in society, and they realized that if they go the same way further, they will all die. They are a big workshop of the world, as Trump said. So they must produce, must do something. And they, through the fact that they changed the means of their media, they began to release the positive. Because what we see is only negative that pours on all of us. We see only fears, we see only aggression, we don't see anything positive. So when the Chinese realized it, they didn't come up with anything, they didn't make any vaccines. The number of deaths didn't begin to decrease. It began to decrease only after when, instead of the virus of anger, aggression, insecurity, fear and so on, they began to instill faith, hope, and finally it was transformed into love. Remember this video when the nurses took off the masks when the hospital closed? Nothing changed. People's consciousness just changed. And through these changes, they began to move on. The Swedes generally went further. They said, we will not play this game. And they didn't begin to close anything, and they have nothing, no avalanche-like growth of disease. Everything goes on as usual. In general, everything works for them, because they have a fairer socialist society, somewhere, somehow. And this is also a trigger that will show who is right and who is wrong. I mean, what do we see? We see the state, the psychological state of our society. What is it expressed in? It's expressed even in those notorious media which, instead of supporting people in a difficult moment, to explain to them, to give them faith, hope and eventually love, what do we get? We get a negative that only further destroys our psyche. Only because of what? Due to the fact that a handful of people who want to continue not to get down above and lead us further, frightened of everything and not understanding what to do, decide, I emphasize, not a strategic but a tactical goal. This is what lies on the surface. So you don't have to rely on anyone. You can't expect someone to decide tomorrow and say, it's over, we move on and so on, everything will be the same. It's not gonna be the same. And what really happens and what to do? The next thing is going to happen. This war began, which goes on in the soul of every person. And each person this year must pass the 3 most important exams in his life. And the exams have already begun, just people can't realize this. Since January, when the trigger was launched, it began sluggishly last year, they said, and since January the process has begun slowly. So from January to May, we must pass the exam for our inner child. What is the essence of this exam? The essence of this exam is as follows. We all come to this world with that unique divine spark of our talent, which is inherent only to everyone. Think about how many people are there, 7.5 billion on Earth, and everyone has their own spark, which is unique. And this spark was to be realized. But through the accumulation of fears, resentment, internal aggression, and so on and so forth, the spark dies out. This source dried up more and more of this mighty fears, doubt, and insecurities when they told us, no, you can't do this, you are not worth it, and so on and so forth. And all this turned into the fact that our inner child simply went out. So, through remelting, through awareness of these internal fears, we must remove all this, clear this divine spark, this divine spring, prepare it for the most important task. And we must do this before the month of May, because from May to September the next exam begins. This exam is no less important. This exam is your meeting with an internal adult. What is it? You must meet face to face with who you really are. You must understand yourself, accept yourself, and, oddly enough, love yourself through forgiveness. Because each of us doesn't love inwardly what he did to himself. He doesn't like the image that you look in the mirror and want to love yourself, but inside, we don't love what we created, because we understand that this is disharmonious with our destiny, with that divine spark that is within ourselves. So only by forgiving what we've done and embracing and loving ourselves, we can proceed to the third exam. And this exam will be the most important. It's admission to the Institute, because the Earth is already on new vibrations and new Schumann frequency. Previously it was within 8 Hz, now its fluctuations roll over to 50 Hz. This is because the frequency of Schumann affects the psyche of people, so the psyche of people is in complete imbalance now. And now you need to assemble yourself in order to synchronize with these new vibrations, very high vibrations. So, having passed to the most important exam, having cleared this divine spring of the inner child, having accepted the inner adult and having loved him, we can pass the most important exam because we will already be ready for it at this moment. We can understand. You know, when we were children, each of us clearly knew what he wanted to become. Either an astronaut, or a poet, or a writer. No one posed small tasks. No one wanted to become a clerk, or, I don't know, head of secretariat, or assistant to the president. We all set great goals to ourselves, and we knew exactly what we want to become. And through this uncertainty, humiliation, internal fears, aggression accumulated, through this so-called notorious experience, we have come to what we have come to. So, having cleared all this garbage and realizing what we can give to the new earth, what we can give to new vibrations, to a new community of people that will be born. It is to give, not to pick up for yourself, but to give. What is our purpose? Because useless people will no longer be here. These are useless people who, it's certainly not good to say, but when the soul realizes that in this physical embodiment it cannot bring anything to this world, it makes a decision on a self-liquidation, on leaving in order to return faster and still give something. So by clearing up all this mess, pulling out this divine spark and realizing that we can give the world, we can pass the final and the most important exam. And after delivery, sign a new contract. And with this contract, come into new vibrations, into a new life. And then everything will be fine. Then there will be a graduation party. Therefore, I love everyone. I wish everyone to remove this negative which pours from all sides in this difficult time, to fill oneself with faith, hope, love, happiness, joy, the highest vibrations, because they will allow you to do the enormous work that you have to do. I wish everyone to pass these exams and meet at the graduation party. I love everyone. Thank you.